My mother-in-law barged into my delivery room, screamed at the nurse, and called my cervix lazy. Hi Reddit. I'm honestly still recovering from what happened and could use some perspective. I, 29F, just gave birth to my first child a week ago. I'm exhausted, still sore, and mentally trying to process everything, including the fact that I'm seriously considering going no contact with my mother-in-law after what she did during the birth. My husband, 30M, who I love very much, thinks I overreacted and is now kind of sulking because I hurt his mom's feelings. So, here I am, wondering if I'm the asshole for losing my mind during the worst moment of my life. For context, I've been with my husband, Zach, for 6 years, married for 2. He's an amazing guy in a lot of ways, sweet, responsible, goofy, but there's always been one major issue in our relationship: his mom, Karen. Yes, her real name is Karen. No, I'm not joking. And yes, she lives up to the meme. Karen is obsessed with Zach. Like, full-on emotional enmeshment weirdness. She calls him her precious baby boy, and not in a joking way. She insists on cooking all his favorite meals when we visit, tells me I should dress more feminine to keep him happy, and literally cried when she found out we were moving into our own apartment because he won't need me anymore. When I got pregnant, I knew it was going to get worse. I just didn't expect this. From the moment we told her, Karen's been acting like she's the one having the baby. She immediately started referring to the pregnancy as our baby, sent me links to articles about how to be a good mother-in-law in the delivery room, and bought a custom t-shirt that says, "Glamma like a grandma but more fabulous." She said she wanted to be in the delivery room and claimed she had a right to be there because she birthed Zach, after all. Yeah, logic. I told her, politely at first, that I only wanted my husband and medical staff in the room. Karen pouted. She literally crossed her arms like a toddler and said, "Well, I was in the room when my daughter gave birth. Why would you rob me of that moment?" Because, Karen, this isn't about you. Zach said he'd talk to her, but the problem with Zach is that he just doesn't like conflict. He'll do anything to keep the peace, even if it means throwing me under the bus sometimes. He said he'd make sure she stays in the waiting room, but I should try to be understanding because this is a big deal for her too. I let it go. I told myself I'd be firm when the day came, and the hospital staff would back me up. Then the day came. It started in the middle of the night, 3 days past my due date. Contractions woke me up around 3 a.m. We timed them for a couple of hours, then headed to the hospital around 6. Zach texted his mom to let her know we were on our way, not to come, just an FYI. I even made him write, "We'll update you after the baby is here, no visitors yet." By the time we got to the hospital, I was already 5 centimeters dilated and in a lot of pain. They got me into a room, hooked up the 4, and we started the long, painful, messy process of bringing a human into the world. Things were okay for the first few hours. Zach was being great, holding my hand, talking me through contractions. The nurse was amazing. I was starting to feel a little more in control. Still anxious, yes, but at least I wasn't alone. Then, around 11 a.m., guess who showed up? Karen. Of course. I heard her before I saw her, her voice in the hallway, loud and chipper. "I brought Gatorade and trail mix for my baby boy. Is the little mama doing okay?" I shot Zach a look that could have melted steel. He looked sheepish and mumbled, "I didn't tell her to come, I swear." I told the nurse, firmly, that I didn't want any visitors. She nodded and said she'd handle it. But Karen somehow talked her way past 2 nurses and was in my room before anyone could stop her. She came in with a tote bag full of snacks, an iPad, to film the moment, and a smug little grin. "I made it just in time," she said, like this was some kind of family barbecue. "Karen, what are you doing here?" I managed, trying to breathe through a contraction. "Oh honey," she said, brushing past me like I was furniture. "I had to be here for my grandbaby. Don't worry, I won't get in the way." She then sat down next to Zach, took his hand, and gave him a proud smile like she'd just witnessed him graduate med school. I tried to stay calm. I reminded her again that I didn't want anyone else in the room. She just smiled and said, "Oh, you'll change your mind. Trust me. You'll want your mama figure here when it gets hard." Excuse me? She wasn't my mother. She wasn't even nice to me most days. But I was in pain, and Zach was frozen like a deer in headlights, so I didn't push it. I figured the nurses would kick her out soon enough. They didn't. She stayed. She started giving tips. She asked the nurse what my dilation was and then announced, only 6 centimeters? Oh, that's not good. She's probably too tense. I was fully dilated in 2 hours with all 3 of mine. The nurse politely told her that everyone labors differently and that I was doing great. Karen rolled her eyes. Well, I'm just saying. Maybe someone should massage her feet. That always helped me. Zach, rub her feet. I told her I didn't want anyone touching my feet. She said, that's just the pain talking. And I swear, that's when I started to feel it, this slow, rising sense of dread, like I wasn't in control of my own body or my own experience. I wasn't just trying to give birth, I was managing her. And it was only going to get worse. By the time I hit 8 centimeters, I was in full-blown pain and completely over it. The contractions were relentless, my whole body was trembling, and all I wanted was to be left alone to breathe and push through. But instead of peace, I had Karen, perched like a damn gargoyle at the edge of the bed, commenting on everything I did. I shifted positions. Oh no, sweetie, you're supposed to stay upright. Gravity helps. I moaned during a contraction. Shoo, don't tense up. You're wasting energy. I closed my eyes to focus. Don't zone out. That's how women miss the urge to push. The nurse, bless her heart, tried a few times to gently remind Karen that I needed quiet and space. But Karen would just smile sweetly and say, I'm just helping. I've done this 3 times, remember? Like she was the goddamn doula of the century. At one point, I started throwing up from the pain. Karen rushed to grab the trash bin, pushed the nurse aside and said, this happened to me with Zach. It means she's transitioning. Get ready, it's almost showtime. Then she patted me on the back like a football coach. I was sobbing and dry heaving at the same time. I turned to Zach and said through gritted teeth, please get her out. And he didn't. He said, she's just excited. Excited? She was giving a TED talk on how to push while I was literally contracting so hard I thought my spine was going to snap. It was the most vulnerable I've ever felt in my life, and instead of feeling supported, I felt like a goddamn circus act. Like I was failing at giving birth the right way, Karen's way. Then the doctor came in. She checked me and said I was at 9.5, almost ready to push. I felt a flood of terror and relief. Finally. Almost there. And then Karen stood up, looked the doctor dead in the eyes, and said, you should have her change positions. Side lying might help open her hips more. She's been on her back too long. The doctor blinked, clearly caught off guard. We're monitoring her closely, she said in that calm, practiced tone doctors use when they're trying not to cuss someone out. We'll adjust as needed. Karen wasn't satisfied. No, really. She needs to switch now. She's stalling. I can see it. Stalling? I was crowning, not procrastinating. That's when the doctor turned to me and said, would you like us to clear the room for delivery? And before I could even answer, Karen interrupted me. No, she wants me here. Don't you, honey? I don't remember exactly what I said, because I was crying too hard to talk. But I shook my head. Hard. Karen went pale. What do you mean, you don't want me here? She said. I'm here for you. For him. This is our moment. The nurse stepped in at that point and gently said, ma'am, we're going to ask you to wait outside now. Karen didn't budge. I'm not leaving my son. He needs me. He's about to become a father. I finally snapped. Get out. I screamed. Get the F*** out of this room right now. Karen gasped like I'd slapped her. Zach just stood there frozen. She looked at him and said, Zach? You're going to let her talk to me like that? During the birth of our child? Our child. I swear something inside me broke. The nurse moved between us and said, "Ma'am, this is a medical procedure. You need to leave." Karen started crying big dramatic sobs and mumbled, "I just wanted to be part of it," as she backed out of the room. Zach followed her out. He didn't come back for 20 minutes. So I labored alone, with just the nurse and the doctor, in complete silence except for my breathing and the beeping monitors. And honestly, it was better. It was calmer. For the first time all day, I could hear myself think. But part of me was breaking too, because this wasn't how I was supposed to be. I imagined Zach holding my hand while we brought our son into the world. Instead, he was comforting her. When he finally returned, I was already pushing. He looked wrecked, like he'd been crying too. He took my hand and whispered, "I'm sorry." But I couldn't even look at him. I was too focused. Too angry. Too done. And in the middle of all of it, the pain, the betrayal, the shouting, our son was born. And I didn't feel the joy I thought I would. I felt tired. Empty. Like something had been stolen from me. And in a way, it had. After my son was born, I didn't cry. I didn't laugh. I didn't even really look at him for the first few minutes. I was too drained, too disoriented, and honestly, too emotionally wrecked to feel anything. I just stared at the ceiling in silence, letting the nurses do their thing, wipe him down, check his vitals, weigh him. I heard his cries and I knew I was supposed to feel something magical. But I couldn't. I felt like I had just been run over, emotionally and physically. The nurse gently placed him on my chest. I held him. I tried to make myself feel joy, love, gratitude, anything. But in the back of my mind, I could still hear Karen yelling. I could still feel her eyes on me. I could still see Zach standing there, silent. I wanted to scream. Instead, I just whispered, "Can I have some space?" The nurse nodded and quietly ushered everyone out, including Zach. I was alone with my son. And in that moment, I broke down. Not because of the pain or the exhaustion, but because I felt robbed. Robbed of the birth experience I had imagined. Robbed of the emotional safety I needed. Robbed of my agency. This was supposed to be the moment my husband and I became parents together. Instead, I felt like I had done it in spite of him. Zach came back in about 20 minutes later. He looked hollow. His eyes were red. I could tell he'd been crying. "I'm sorry," he said, quietly. I didn't say anything. She's always been like this." I didn't know she would take it that far. I nodded. "But you didn't stop her." He sat down next to me and said, I froze. I didn't want to make a scene. "You let me be the scene," I said, my voice cracking. He reached for my hand, but I didn't take it. A nurse came back in and told us someone was asking to visit. I didn't have to ask who. I said no. Then another nurse came in, different one, said the same thing. Karen wanted to just see the baby for a minute. I said no again. 10 minutes later, yet another knock. She's in the hallway crying. Says she feels like a failure. That she just wants a moment. I lost it. I sat up in my bed, still sore, still bleeding, still dizzy, and said, "Tell her if she doesn't leave this hospital, I will file a complaint for harassment and interference with medical care." Zach flinched. "She doesn't mean harm," he muttered. "She doesn't care about harm," I snapped. "She cares about control." He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled out his phone. I saw his hands shaking as he texted her. A minute later, my own phone buzzed. She had messaged me. "I'm sorry if you were overwhelmed. I just know how special this moment is. You'll understand one day." Understand what? How to bulldoze someone else's boundaries? I didn't reply. I blocked her. For the rest of our hospital stay, Zach barely spoke. He held the baby. He helped with feedings. He looked like a man who'd had the curtain pulled back on his entire childhood and didn't know what to do about it. The second day, when I asked him directly, "Do you see the problem now?" he just said, I don't know how to fix it. That was the first honest thing he'd said all week. We were discharged the next afternoon. I was clear, I didn't want Karen to know when we were getting home. Zach agreed. He said, she needs space. I get it. He swore. We pulled into our driveway. I was holding the baby. The sun was in my eyes. I blinked and saw something colorful on our porch. Balloons. A welcome baby sign. And Karen. Sitting in a lawn chair like she owned the block. My heart rate spiked instantly. I whispered, Zach, did you tell her? No. I swear, I didn't. Maybe she tracked your phone? She stood up, smiling like nothing had happened. I made you guys lasagna, she said. Figured you'd be too tired to cook. I didn't get out of the car. Zach said, let me talk to her. I said, no. The baby started crying. I was leaking through my shirt. I hadn't slept in 30 hours. And this woman, this absolute menace, was standing there acting like she hadn't detonated my entire labor. Zach got out of the car anyway. Karen ran up and hugged him. She kissed his cheek. She tried to peek in through the window. I rolled it down a crack. You need to leave, I said. She laughed like I was being silly. Oh, come on. I'm his grandmother. You can't keep me away forever. I can and I will. Her face darkened. This is my family too. You weren't thinking about family when you hijacked my delivery, I said. Go. Now. Zach looked like he wanted to sink into the ground. Please, I told him. Do not bring her into our home. Karen cut in. Zach. Be a man. Don't let her control you. I thought I would lose my mind. Control? After everything she did? I said, Zach, pick a side. Right now. He looked at me. Then at her. Then back at me. And he just stood there. Frozen. That was my breaking point. I didn't even yell. I just said, we're not going in. Not until she's gone. Then I turned the car around. We spent the next 4 days at my sister's house. He called. Texted. Begged me to come home. Said he talked to her. That she gets it now. That she'll apologize. I haven't responded. Because deep down, I'm scared this is just the beginning. I stayed at my sister's house for almost a week. During that time, Zach called me every day. Sometimes 5 or 6 times. He texted constantly. Sent photos of the baby's nursery he'd finished setting up. Left voicemails just saying I love you over and over again like some kind of incantation that might reverse time. I didn't block him. I just didn't answer. I needed space. I needed to figure out if I was just overwhelmed or if something truly irreversible had happened between us. My sister, bless her, kept the house peaceful. She took care of me the way I wished Zach had, made meals, held the baby while I showered, even stayed up one night rocking him so I could sleep 3 whole hours. She never once said, you'll get over it, or maybe you were too harsh. She just let me feel. On day 5, I finally picked up one of Zach's calls. He sounded terrified. Are you okay? Are you coming home? I don't know, I said. There was a long pause. Can I see him? You can come here, I said. But not with her. I mean it. He agreed. He showed up an hour later. He looked like hell, unshaven, pale, red-eyed. When he saw our son, he cried. Real, chest-heaving, messy tears. He held him and just kept saying, I'm so sorry. I wanted to forgive him. I really did. But the feeling hadn't gone away, the deep ache of betrayal. Not just from what happened in the hospital, but from everything leading up to it. How many times had he chosen the easy path with her? How many times had I swallowed discomfort just to keep the peace? I told him all of it. He listened. really listened. He said, I talked to her. I told her what she did. She says she didn't realize. She did realize, I cut in. She just didn't care. I told her she's not allowed to come to the house until you say it's okay. I nodded. She's not meeting him again until I believe she understands why what she did was wrong. Not misunderstood. Not miscommunicated. Wrong. He said, I don't know how to make this right. Neither do I. That night, we went back home together. I didn't unpack anything. I just walked around the house like it was a stranger's place. The nursery looked perfect, the walls painted soft green, little wooden animals lined up on the shelf, a glider by the window, but I didn't feel like I belonged there yet. It wasn't until 3 a.m., when the baby woke crying and Zach stumbled out of bed without being asked, that I felt something shift. He changed the diaper, rocked him back to sleep, kissed his tiny forehead like it was holy. Okay, I thought. Maybe. The next morning, I found an envelope on the kitchen table. It was from Karen. Zach said she dropped it off while we were asleep. He didn't want to wake me. Inside was a letter. Handwritten. 8 pages. It started with I'm sorry, but it quickly morphed into I was just trying to help and I didn't realize how sensitive you are. She described the birth as emotional for everyone and said I lashed out because I was in pain. Then came the kicker. One day, you'll understand what it's like to watch your child be taken away from you. I put the letter down and walked straight out of the room. Zach followed. I didn't read it, he said. I didn't know what was in it. You said she understood. I thought she did. I went upstairs, packed a bag, and left again. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I didn't even cry. I was just done. I stayed at my sister's for 3 more days. During that time, I thought a lot about boundaries, the kind you set, the kind people trample, and the kind that define a marriage. When Zach came to see me again, I laid it out in writing. No unsupervised visits with the baby. No surprise visits to our home. No contact between me and Karen unless initiated by me. No justifying, excusing, or translating her behavior. Therapy. For both of us. He agreed to all of it. Without argument. We've been back under the same roof for a few weeks now. It's fragile. We're careful around each other. We speak softly. We take turns with the baby like we're coworkers. Not cold, just cautious. Karen hasn't seen the baby since the hospital. She's sent gifts, cards, long emails filled with reflections. She's also sent photos of Zach as a baby, with captions like "Remember how it all started?" Like that's supposed to mean something to me. I've ignored it all. I'm trying to give Zach space to prove he can be a father and a partner without being someone's son first. Some days, I believe in us. Some days, I pack a go bag in my head. It's been 6 weeks. 6 weeks since I gave birth to my son. 6 weeks since I felt like my body wasn't my own. 6 weeks since I screamed at my mother-in-law to get the fuck out of my delivery room, while my husband stood by and watched. 6 weeks since I realized that the worst part of what happened wasn't her behavior, it was his silence. And now, I still don't know what the hell I'm doing. We've been back and forth between normalcy and collapse. Therapy, quiet meals, tiny moments of peace. And then tension again. Holding my breath waiting for an apology that never fully comes. Hoping for a grand gesture of change and getting small efforts instead real, but maybe not enough. I don't think Zach is a bad person. I never did. But I think he spent his entire life wrapped around his mother's expectations like a vine, and I was naive to think love alone could untangle that. I remember when we first started dating, he used to joke about how intense his mom was. She'll probably have opinions about our wedding colors, he said once, laughing. She didn't. She had demands. And slowly, without even noticing, I made space for her. I stepped back, bit my tongue, softened my needs. I thought I was being cool and chill and mature. But what I was actually doing was teaching Zach that I'd always been so he wouldn't have to choose. Until the day I couldn't bend anymore. After Karen's handwritten apology, I spent a night just staring at our son's face while he slept. Watching his tiny fingers twitch. Listening to his soft breathing. And I realized something that scared the hell out of me. If I stay silent now, I'm setting the tone for everything. For how people will treat him. For what kind of boundaries he'll see, or won't. For whether he'll grow up watching his mother shrink herself to keep others comfortable. I want better for him. So I told Zach I needed to live apart for a while. No timeline. No labels. Just space. He took it harder than I expected. I thought we were doing better, he said. We are. But I'm still scared, I told him. And I can't rebuild trust from inside the place where it broke. He didn't argue. He just nodded. That made it worse. He moved into his brother's guest room. Comes by in the mornings before work, and again in the evenings to do bedtime. Sometimes I stay out of the room. Sometimes I watch him read Goodnight Moon with tears silently running down his face. He's trying. But I'm so tired of being the only one who's never allowed to break. Karen, meanwhile, has gone quiet. No more surprise visits. No more group emails or passive-aggressive photos. But I know it's not over. I feel her presence like a shadow at the edge of everything. I told Zach she can't see the baby until we've had a conversation, a real one. With accountability. With sincerity. Without the "you're too sensitive" reframing. He asked, what if that conversation never happens? Then she doesn't see him, I said. He didn't like that. But he didn't fight me on it. A few days ago, I got a letter in the mail. From her again. Typed this time. Less emotional, more calculated. She wrote, I've taken time to reflect. I believe we both made mistakes. I hope we can be adults and move forward for the sake of the baby. No acknowledgement of what she did. No apology for violating medical boundaries. No mention of screaming over a doctor or trying to control my labor. Just, we both made mistakes. As if my mistake was defending myself. I showed it to Zach. He sighed. I'll talk to her, he said. I said, no. Don't mediate this. It's between me and her now. Or not at all. And now we're here. Limbo. I thought a lot about writing a response. A real one. Not a rage letter, not a dramatic manifesto. Just something true. Something final. But I'm scared that even that would give her more of me than she deserves. Because the older I get, the more I realize, not everyone needs closure. Some people need distance. Permanent, respectful distance. Maybe that's what this is. Maybe it's not about punishing her. Maybe it's about protecting me. And my son. I don't want to raise him in a house full of tension and tiptoes. I don't want him to feel like love is something that comes with manipulation and guilt. I want him to know that love can mean no. That love doesn't always look like forgiveness, especially when it was never asked for sincerely. I don't know what the next year looks like. Maybe Zach and I find a new rhythm. Maybe we rebuild. Maybe we don't. But I do know this. If it comes down to choosing between keeping the peace and protecting my child, I'll never hesitate again. So Reddit, was I the asshole? Maybe. I don't know. All I know is I did what I had to do. And I'll keep doing it. Every damn time.